And welcome back to another edition of the Bar TV Hardware Man Illawarra League Roundup. Jared Constable from Win News joining Mitch Jennings from the Illawarra Mercury to talk all things Illawarra League. It is of course round 6, the Bendigo Bank Mental Health Round, and this lovely vessel we have in front of us is up for grabs this weekend. But we'd be remiss to overlook last weekend's first game in the split round. Western Collies at Sid Parish Park, and Collies got one up over them.
Yeah, they're going along pretty nicely, Collies, the only undefeated team left at this stage of the season. It was a very tight game. West haven't had many games that aren't tight so far this year, but Collies, they're just going along pretty nicely. I think we've touched on it before, speaking about the Dogs this season. They just have great men in those key positions, and it proved the difference again. Your likes of Benny Jones and Jared Boyle, who we've touched on, but I also thought Kyle Ether had an awful run with injury of late, but he was in at fullback on the weekend and just chimed into the back line nicely, had some really, really good touches. So things looking ominous there for the Dogs in the key positions. It's quite scary for other teams too, because I think they can get a whole lot better, and I think Coach Nathan Feen would agree with me on that one. There's still some things that they can really improve, but they have picked up those crucial early wins. For West, I suppose, it's just another case of sort of so near yet so far. I mean, they haven't given up on a single play all season, West. It's just another close one against those sort of top four sides that they've been edged out in. Forward pack did a great job in Collies. Collies had a lot of possession their way, so they did pretty well to stay in it. They were down 12-0 and obviously put 2 back-to-back tries in just before half-time. We're down 12 again in the second and came back at them again. So there's certainly no lack of want and effort in the Devils. They're just struggling to get over the line in some of these close ones. I'm sure it's something they'll be looking to address sort of going forward into the season.
Absolutely. And another good bit of news to come out of the West Devils camp. Will Tom picked up in the under-23s country side, played like a man possessed.
He did.
Scored a try, almost got the boys over the line, but obviously just fell short. As we mentioned, that was the first game of the split round this week. The second comes when Corrimal and Thirroul line up out at Gibson Park, taking on one another for the Bendigo Bank Mental Health Cup. As we can see in front, you caught up with young fella from Thirroul, Max Bailey, a little bit about the game coming up.
Well, I'm joined now by Thirroul Tearaway Max Bailey. Max had a bit of a week off this week, but 2 pretty big scalps you claimed going into the week off. Must be pretty happy with where you're sitting.
Yeah, mate, definitely. It were 2 big weeks for us going into versing the premiership teams, and to get 2 wins, come away with 4 points, it's massive for our team and big confidence boost moving forward.
I did watch you out that day at Gibson Park, another great game against Collegians. You just got edged out in that one. Were you pretty happy to responding to that in the following 2 weeks to get 2 close ones against last year's grand finalists?
Yeah, definitely, mate. It was a sore loss against Collies. We had them and then we just threw it away at the end. So to put some good performances in, even though we didn't complete at the end of West, and have to hold on and get the 2 points in both those games, it was big for us.
I guess as we've mentioned last year, Thirroul missed the finals for the first time in something like 25 years, something in that vicinity anyway. Was there sort of talk within the club sort of from day one this year that, you have to get back to the finals, sort of where the Butchers belong? Yeah,
mate, that was very disappointing last year, and it was a big goal for us to definitely make the finals again this year. That's where we belong. The Butchers are always up in the finals, so we're looking that way so far. If we keep playing the way we are and keep putting good performances in, look like we'll have a good run.
As we had a bit of a chat off camera, is this start behind trying to get that drive into the finals? Because I remember last year Thirroul probably dropped some games they probably shouldn't have early on, and you were sort of chasing the season. Was it really important to get off to a good start?
Yeah, mate, definitely. There's only 12 or so games in the season, so if you lose those first 4 or 5 games, you're chasing hard to get back in. So put a few good performances in the first round of games against each other, and hopefully we can carry that in the second half.
Mate, Corrimal obviously very much improved this year, and I believe they did knock you off in pretty convincing fashion early on last season. As Jacko reminded you about that loss a couple of times this week?
Yeah, definitely, mate. We got a bit embarrassed last year against Corrimal at Zeems Park. All 3 grades went down, so we got to go back to Gibbo this year and try and knock them off all 3 grades.
I guess, is it really important to having the big scalps that you have managed in the last couple of weeks, week off? Is Jacko really impressed on you that you can't let your guard down against the Cougars?
Yeah, definitely, mate. He's just kept telling us not to be complacent. We've had a few good games, but dropping it off now and losing against Corrimal and the few games coming up will just be terrible for our season. So we need to keep moving forward and keep playing good.
Max, thanks for joining us, mate.
Some great insights there, Mitch. How do you see this one panning out?
Yeah, it's good. Thirroul going along really, really nicely. I think I've watched their last 2 games against West and Dapto. You're always going along pretty well when you can knock off both of last season's grand finalists in consecutive weeks. The big thing to come out of it is just the way they're playing through the middle. If you talk to their rival teams when they're about to play through, they all talk about having to match them in the middle. They're really, really formidable in what they've managed to put on the park forward-wise. A couple of guys from Illawarra coming back, your Reece Kennedys, your Jack Noble, been really, really good. It's given Jared Costello the luxury of bringing guys like Julian Flego and Luke Dodge, real hardened Illawarra League players off the bench. Obviously, they did get done by Collies at home a couple of weeks ago. They were really disappointed about that one, but they've got over the line in a couple of close ones. And I'll tell you what, they're not out of the reckoning for a top 2 finish the way they're going. Obviously, they've got a win over Dapto in the bank. They've got one over West in the bank. But they'll be careful not to drop their guard against Corrimal. Corrimal have been a bit hit and miss, but those battles of the beaches are always intense. And I do remember last year Corrimal really pulling the Butchers' pants down at Zims Park, so I'm sure they'll be looking for a bit of revenge on the weekend.
And it's been what we've been talking about all season. The Corrimal side has been one of the biggest improvers, snagging a draw against Helensburgh. No matter what side they put on the field, Helensburgh is a great club, and to get one back against them, split the points, it's definitely a great showing of where they're at. Helensburgh, of course, take on Berkeley this weekend as well. Berkeley, another side that has been hard to pick, I guess you could say.
Yeah, both these sides probably hard to pick. I mean, it's another side you can mention. No shortage of effort from either of these 2 teams. They're very big effort teams. Probably both of them this year just lacking that 1 or 2 genuine sort of star player to get them over the line in a couple. Helensburgh's last start draw with Corrimal, a case in point in recent years. Whenever the game was on the line, they always found someone to step up and get it done. I think Helensburgh, they play the best this year when they keep it pretty simple. You've got guys like Azan Sarao, Wayne Bremner, right there. They're the 2 best dummy half running players in this league, and they've got some others that are pretty good at a dummy half as well, and that's where they've sort of really looked their best. They just get a little bit forward, get some guys into dummy half, ask some questions aside through the middle. So I'm sure that's what they'll be looking to build on, both looking for their first win, so you can imagine 2 pretty desperate sides.
Absolutely, and as we mentioned, the trophy is up for grabs between Thirroul and Corrimal. We've also got some Shield games to watch, Mount Kembla and Norths, as well as Windang and Avondale, 2 sides that are always thereabouts at final time, hate each other's guts, so that should be great. And I suppose in a sad note this week, the passing of Illawarra Rugby League legend Ron Rolls, at a time when Park players had a very defined pathway to the Sydney comp or the Sydney teams. He joined the Manly Seagulls and was up there, played in the first Manly side to make a New South Wales Premiership Grand Final, and was the top point scorer in the New South Wales League for 4 consecutive seasons, I think. So a big loss for the New South Wales Rugby League community, and in particular the Illawarra League. And I know he's got a lot of family down here that will be thinking about him, and our best wishes are with them. And we hope that the boys get out there this weekend and play in the right spirit as Ron did. And that's all for the Bar TV Hardware Man Illawarra League roundup for this week.